Hi parents, I wanted to make this video as we are finishing up with our Merry Adventures of Robin Hood and Literature of Omnibus, and I'm going to talk very briefly at the end of this video about the next book that will finish us up for quarter 3. So in this video I'm going to address preparation for the Socratic Circle, the structure and grading of the Socratic Circle, and then the next book. What is a Socratic Circle? First of all, Socratic Circle is a format, a way to hold a discussion in a class. I use this as a tool for test grade, and that's what I'm trying to help you in preparing your student for this test grade that's coming up on the Merry Adventures of Robin Hood as we are finishing up our work in it. I'll give you more detailed explanation of it in a moment. But first, it is discussion-based, so how can you help your child to prepare? Please discuss with them. So basically, we've read Robin Hood in 3 parts. We have not read the whole book. We've read all of part 1, all of part 4, and all of part 8 and epilogue. I combined those 2 together. 8 is the last part of the book. And what has already happened and will finish this week is that at the end of each part, your students have been working with these questions. This is for part 1, which are divided into text analysis questions, cultural analysis questions, and the biblical analysis. What I would like you to pay attention to as you talk with your student, please, is at the beginning of each of these assignments that I gave is a question to consider. At the end of part 1, this question to consider has to do with pride. Part 4 on page 366, the question deals with celebrations. And then part 8, an epilogue, the question to consider is on page 368 and deals with authority. Please talk to your student and ask them, okay, you've answered these questions. How can we answer this question to consider about pride? You can extend the question to consider that's given in the book and talk through how we deal with pride in our culture and what does the Bible have to say about it. That kind of discussion would be very helpful for your students. All the answers to these questions are what are being used to prepare them for this Socratic Circle. I'm doing a Socratic Circle rather than a paper, which is what the book has suggested that is the assignment. But I've used the Socratic Circle for many years with 8th graders, and it works beautifully and is another form of them to express what they've learned as well as a paper. So anyhow, that's how to prepare. Just please have a dialogue with your child. Now, what is the Socratic Circle? What will happen, and I will give them a practice run on a Socratic Circle before we actually perform it at the beginning of next week. We're finishing our work in Robin Hood this week, and then at the beginning of next week is when we actually have the test Socratic Circle. Basically, it is, I take the class and divide it into a half. One half of the students works in the inner circle, the other half work in the outer circle. The inner circle is where the student is graded. That is the discussion that takes place, and they take that question to consider and they start discussing it. This week it'll be a 10-minute discussion with the students, so everybody has to participate. That is the whole point of the Socratic Circle in their discussion, so everyone has to talk. And what happens in the outer circle during this discussion is that these students, and I give them a form, will provide feedback to those in the inner circle. The feedback that is given from the outer circle is not used in their grade at all. I will be there to grade each of the students during the discussion time, but feedback helps them to be better in their communication. It'll help them the next time we have a Socratic Circle, which we will have another one, and this feedback actually helps them to be better. After the first 10 minutes, first discussion, the students trade places. The inner circle has their discussion while the outer circle is evaluating them on paper and then gives them some verbal feedback at the end. Yes, the second run, they've already heard the discussion from these students, but it's amazing how they end up going in different directions usually because they're just different students, and even the type of relationships they have with one another are different. So they tend to spur one another on, which is the purpose, the reason why I love having this type of dialogue, so that they can be iron sharpening iron. If you have any questions about this, please don't hesitate to let me know. I will address, since this is a test grade, do we have students who talk too much? Yes, there are some people even who are a bit more verbose than others. I do grade on that. Everybody has to have a chance to talk, so if there are students who talk too much, it will work against them. They need to be respectful. Believe it or not, the students usually are quite good at this, and I do encourage them to ask questions of one another so to make sure that everyone is being included, and they have always performed beautifully in that respect. The other part that can be somewhat of a challenge for some students is, and the more common, is not talking enough. Some students don't have the confidence, don't know what to say, don't want to talk, but it is a must. Again, this is just a format and how, or a structure in order to learn about their knowledge of the book and how they've been processing what's going on in the book, how do we apply the biblical worldview, etc. Most of the time, those students who are not as happy about it and a little more afraid, the parents help them come up with a script of something to say. And so that helps them to be ready to prepare and gives them the confidence. So again, please spend some time with your student this week or over the weekend, preparing them to be ready so that they will have that confidence. Again, questions, please email me. Then after we're done with the Socratic Circle as our test grade, our next book is The Nine Tailors by Dorothy Sayers. It is in the omnibus book, omnibus text, if you wanted to look at it. I wanted to let you know that we must read this whole book. We did not read all of the Merry Adventures of Robin Hood, and so the students will have a workload that will be more than what we've experienced lately, and I wanted to go ahead and prepare you for that because it's a mystery. You can't read just portions of a mystery in order to see it all come together at the end. So I wanted to go ahead and let you realize that there will be more reading each day for the students, and when I can, I will try to give them some class time to go ahead and knock out some of that reading. Again, if you have questions, let me know, and that rounds out what we're doing with literature for quarter 3, and for history, we're continuing on our timeline, and the students have been doing a beautiful job with their presentations every time they have one, so please be proud of them. Talking about pride, but the good pride. Your students are doing very well in the history, so thank you for that. All right, please reach out if you need anything.